Hello, my name is Kristina Slizinska, and I'm the Executive Director of the Florida chapter of the European American Chamber of Commerce, EACC. Thank you for watching this program entitled Building the 21st Century Workforce with Innovative Apprenticeships. The program was co-organized by EACC Florida together with EACC Carolinas and EACC Cincinnati and was recorded on October 6, 2020. Because of a technical problem, the introduction was cut off, so I will explain who the speakers are, and you can then watch the rest of the program. Andreas Brockmann is Head of Technical Training and Education at Festo Didactic in Cincinnati. Festo is a leading global manufacturer of pneumatic and electromechanical systems, components and controls for process control and factory automation solutions. Andreas has over 32 years of experience in automation and started his career in a German apprenticeship program. Robbie Ellis is the HR team lead supervisor for training and apprenticeships with ZF Transmissions in Gray Court, South Carolina. ZF is a global technology company and supplies systems for passenger cars, commercial vehicles, and industrial technology, enabling the next generation of mobility. For the past 4 years, Robbie has been developing what is now recognized as one of the leading apprenticeships programs in the state. Kai Schmidt was born and raised in Mühlhausen, Germany, and started his career as an officer cadet in the German army. He worked in the aeronautical industry in Germany and France from 2009 to 2015. In 2015, Kai was appointed HR Director at Airbus OneWeb Satellites in Florida's Space Coast, where he manages all key HR processes in France and in the United States. Todd Schwartz, our moderator for the day, and whose day job is to masterfully run EACC Cincinnati as its Executive Director. And last but not least, Andreas Siegel, who's a career diplomat and Consulate General of the Federal Republic of Germany in Florida since July 2019. Before that, Andreas headed the German Consulate General in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Throughout his diplomatic career, Andreas held positions in Berlin, at NATO headquarters in Brussels, as well as in Poland, in Boston here in the United States, Lilongwe in Malawi, in Africa, as well as in Rabat and Casablanca. We are, of course, very honored to have the Consul General with us. And now on to the program.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. And it's a great pleasure for me to participate in this workshop. And I think it's a very good timing to do so. You introduced the subject as being a little bit of innovation to the American workforce development. But what for some is innovation, for others it's a long-standing tradition. In Germany, we have a very well-reputed and very good experience with a form of vocational training, which is the dual vocational training, which comprises theoretical and practical on-the-job training, and which has proven to be very successful for the apprentices on the one hand, who are very quickly able to find a very well-paid job, and also for the companies who train them, because they can mostly take advantage of their own trainees because they're mostly taken over by those companies. Now, given the fact that Germany is the third biggest investor in the United States and also the third biggest job creator in the United States, with about 800,000 or so jobs created as we stand, I think it's a good opportunity to take advantage of this German training experience to see how we can maybe learn some lessons from that for other US companies here. That has already been tried in some instances, in particular, as far as I'm aware, in California and in the Midwest, in Florida, where I am right now. That has also been tried by several companies with the so-called skills initiative. And well, it has also, the lesson from that was that it's not that easy to translate this German dual vocational experience to other economies. I've seen that in Vietnam, where I come from, as well. But there are a certain number of prerequisites that are very useful to translate that. One is, of course, to have German champions, German companies who can demonstrate how this functions and how this works, and can serve as a model for others. There are companies around, and we will hear during our meeting that we have already some very specific and concrete experience in some fields. One a very important factor is, of course, the image of apprenticeships in general. You have to convince the sort of high school graduates and the parents that the college is not the only option that people have in order to earn a good living afterwards. And another problem is also to keep in mind that the companies who train these apprenticeships in Germany, they get paid also. So some companies are sometimes afraid of losing those apprentices after having trained them so well. But statistically, actually, as far as Germany is concerned, that is not true. I mean, really, most of the apprentices stay with their company, and there's a very good sort of cooperation between the two. Now, speaking also as a local chair of the European Union here in Florida, I can tell you that the European Union has also put a strong emphasis on dual vocational training during the German presidency, which is ongoing in Europe. So there will be sort of additional European coordination of standards and curricula of all this. And especially during a time of pandemic, I mean, at first sight, it seems sort of illogical to concentrate on such a subject, because there are so many urgent things to clarify. How can I keep my employees? How can I survive? How can the company survive in the next months or even weeks? But on the other hand, if you have a strategy and if you have a perspective of a really well qualified workforce, and you see these opportunities, that may be sort of the light at the end of the tunnel that is necessary for you to regain sort of optimism for the next couple of weeks and months. So I hope that this seminar will give us this optimistic view for the future. And well, so I hand over to Todd, I think, for further explanation.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Mr. Consul General, and again, with Germany's presidency of the EU currently, you know, we look forward to your leadership, and thank you for contributing to this webinar. So let me just start real quick and ask our panelists maybe just to quickly talk about where do you fit into this topic? I mean, help our audience understand sort of why have we asked you to be here, and describe your connection to the topic and the activities and organizations you are working with that address workforce development through innovative apprenticeships. And let's start with Andreas here in Southwestern Ohio.
Yeah, hello everyone. As you hear already from Christina, I'm with Festo Didactic. We are world leader in technical education and technical education equipment, what we sell actually to college systems in the United States here. And we're running an apprenticeship program from 2016 on already here in Ohio. And we started with our partner companies and college last year in Florida, and hopefully next year in California. So we have a lot of experience now with apprenticeship here in the United States, and especially on the dual education programs what are based in like in Germany. We do also short-term training. Yeah, if you need technical training in general, please reach out to us. We definitely can help.
Excellent. And we'll talk about the connection between what you're doing here and Florida a little bit later. Robbie, tell us why are you here, my friend?
Why am I here? Good morning and good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robbie Ellis. I'm the HR lead supervisor for training and apprenticeship at ZF Transmissions in Gray Court, South Carolina. We currently have 19 apprentices in our program. Our apprentices follow two distinct career paths, one being mechatronics and the other is machine tool technology. Our program is almost 4 years old. So it's a 3-year program, so we are just now seeing the fruits of our labor and graduating some of our apprentices and moving them into the workforce. So we're very excited about the progress we've made thus far.
It's a good point to remind to people that these are not short projects, that these take some time. Kai, what's happening in Florida, and why do we consider you a leader in this area?
I'm beside the HR director role within One Satellites. I'm also the co-founder and chairman of the Space Coast Consortium Apprenticeship Program. It's a long name, but we had to give an answer to the skilled workforce challenges we are facing, and we need to secure those skills mid and long term. And we are not the only company who's in this space race here at the Space Coast. We're all looking at the same needs to get a qualified workforce on board. And when there's a competition, you need to find solutions. So from my heritage, knowing what advantages apprenticeship program have in Germany, I thought this is the ideal way forward to secure these skills. And together with Brian Cam, who joined this consortium in 2016, we could assemble different companies in this area who are sharing the same interest. So we set up this program. So we have actually 3 occupations registered in Florida. And the current one we are supporting right now is the mechatronics technician program. But we also tried the programs for CNC machinists and fiber composite technicians. So we are somehow prepared to give answers, including other companies. Currently, we have 4 core companies, but there are more than 20 in the pipeline who showed interest. So we are in the 2nd year with the apprenticeship program, and it's working really well.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, I know the consortium is a very, very positive development there in Florida, and one of the things that we'll talk about in this conversation is how do you get companies to come together to address some of these challenges rather than just dealing with on their own. But let's get started. I mean, the Consul General referenced this specifically, that you can't just pick up a German-style apprenticeship program and drop it in Ohio or North Carolina and expect that it's going to work. You've got to modify it because the primary education systems alone are just very different. So I'll start with you, Andreas. I mean, explain to me a little bit about why, with the modifications and how you have had to adapt apprenticeship training to fit here in Ohio or in Kentucky.
Yeah, it is here in the US. It's not really normal for companies to educate their workforce. They rely really on the college system. And that is where the challenge is for us over the years, to find a really good partner in the college system, to understand the college system, and give something to the students. Yeah, when you look at an apprenticeship program in Germany, if you finish a program in Hamburg in the north, you can actually work for, let's say, BMW in the south, while everybody knows exactly what education background you now have. Here in the United States, every state does it a little bit different. The outcome is different. Yeah, and for that reason, we created this program, what we call MAP Square. It's a mechatronic apprenticeship program where we're working really close with the college system, but we bring it from Ohio, the same curriculum, to California or Florida. Yeah, and that is really the challenge, to understand what we do here in Ohio and compare that with, let's say, Florida and the need of the companies in Florida. On the end, yes, we hear that already. Everybody needs the same workforce. If you need a mechatronic technician, you know, like Robert or Kai, you know, it doesn't matter really where he comes from. More important is what can he do. Yeah, and that is really the challenge for us over the years.
Yep.
You know?
And you mentioned the MAP2 program. I believe for our audience, there you should be able to click on the handouts and see a brochure that talks about that. If you don't see that, let us know. We'll make sure that we send that to you. You mentioned, Andreas, the question of finding the right educational institutions and the right partners to work with. Oh, and I just want to say too, for our audience, if you have any questions or comments or reactions, again, please feel free to use that question box at any time. But Robbie, you know, Andreas talked about, you know, finding the right educational institution to be your partner, because of course it's the educational institution, the employer, and the students. Let's talk about the educational institutions. When you're looking for, or not Robbie, I'm sorry, Kai. Kai, when you're looking for an educational partner, you had to find somebody to work with the Space Coast Consortium. What did you look for? What are some of the key factors that contribute to that?
Before I'm going to answer the question, I would like to build on two comments General Counsel made and Andreas made. So the challenge was really to explain the companies who are looking for skilled apprentices that there is a different quality approach behind this scheme. It's about this dual vocational training, especially in an environment where all the companies have to learn somehow from scratch. So if you take the satellite industry, where we are going to build 8 satellites a week, which doesn't happen so far, we need to find a way to combine theory training and practical training. And this has a win-win for all the 3 stakeholders, for the apprentices itself, they're embedded in the company education, so hands-on training. The educational partners, like the colleges, who are quite knowledgeable how to train apprentices. But also we as the companies where we can even retain our apprentices. So we were looking for a local educational partner, which are skilled and which are experienced in training, let's say, more these hands-on, practical-oriented students. But we are also looking for educational partners who could provide reasonable cost to those programs. So that we found the Eastern Florida State College as an ideal partner who freed up some space to buy equipment and to implement equipment for our lab. So our students are in the college on Mondays and Fridays, and the other 3 days at the company. And we also had to find someone who is really flexible and easy to support us and set this up. So we got this done within a year, which was really amazing. And they're local, so that means the apprentices don't have a long time for commute between the companies and the colleges. So we had to have agile educational partners, those who are experienced in those kind of hands-on trainings, but also providing reasonable cost, because it's a kind of huge investment we are doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting to hear this. You know, there are a lot of practical considerations that have to go into that: commute times, costs, especially since the employers have to pay for the bulk of this. So. Robbie, the Consul General also mentioned, you know, there's some perception issues that come along with this, and we actually have a question that from our audience that I'll mention as well here. But, you know, finding employees, finding students who want to take these jobs. You know, the perception is that factories are dark, they're dirty, they're dangerous. You know, which, you know, particularly in an advanced manufacturing facility, couldn't be farther from the truth. Mm-hmm. What kind of work are you doing to reach out to students, to families, to guidance counselors, to, you know, to get people interested in these career opportunities?
Yeah, that's a great question. 4 years ago, when I came on board with ZF, that was certainly an issue that we had to overcome. And the first time I went to a high school to speak about our apprenticeship program, they had a huge banner outside that said, 4-year college for everyone. And I said, okay, I got my work cut out for me today. So, but you know, much like a lot of the other companies with apprenticeship programs, we spend time in middle schools, high schools, career centers, you know, promoting careers in manufacturing. But a couple of things that I think we do that are a little different than some of the others is we host a parents' night or an open house at our facility. We invite interested students and parents to come out to the facility. You know, we tell them a little bit about our company. We tell them a little bit about apprenticeship programs, how they work. We take them on a tour of the facility, and it's really eye-opening for the parents, for the most part, who are used to what you're talking about as a dirty, dangerous, dark environment. You know, when they get into an advanced manufacturing facility and they see the robotics and all the sophisticated equipment, you know, and what a nice environment it is to work in, you know, and then they find out about an apprenticeship program and, oh, you're going to pay for my son or my daughter to go to school. And then, you know, mom starts nudging the kid and says, okay, you're interested in this, you know. So that's one thing that we do. And another program that's been really successful, we've termed it Teacher Link. But each summer for the past 5 years, we bring in teachers from our local high schools. I currently have 4 high schools that I predominantly work with. And they come to work with us at ZF for approximately 6 weeks during the summer. And we strategically place them throughout the plant in different areas, you know, maybe HR, health and safety, engineering. And it really exposes the educators to what it's like to work in a manufacturing environment. And I mean, if you think about, you know, most people that are in education, they've spent their entire career in a school, you know, as a student, and now that as a career. So for many of them, it's the first time they've ever been in a manufacturing environment. So we've had great success with that, and it's actually become very competitive each summer with the amount of teachers wanting to get in our program. And they go back to school, you know, after their 6-week stint with us, and they become advocates for the company, become advocates for our apprenticeship program. They're recommending students to me. You know, they tell me that, hey, now I have an answer for that student that says, when am I ever going to use this? You know, in my adult life, they can say, I can tell you where you can use it. I saw them using this at ZF Transmissions. So it's been a great program and a great success.
Yeah, let me follow up with that. And one of our audience members has asked the question about when did this all start? You know, sort of when in an educational system. I mean, in Germany, as I understand it, the apprenticeships start as early as age 16. Is that correct, Kai?
Yes, this is correct. So yeah.
How you know what could be done to kind of continue, you know, to build on that tradition here in the U.S. to labor laws and so forth aside?
We already had the idea to start with a pre-apprenticeship program. You know that plenty of schools, they are embedded in the STEM programs. They're already very hands-on on practical with regards to math, science, and technology. So if we can embed those high school students before they graduate, and then after they graduate, they join us, and they have already some credentials earned while at the high school period, then they can even accelerate the apprenticeship duration in our company. Starting early is always beneficial because it gives an orientation for the students early enough. and it opens up a new career path even for women in technology. I mean, we are tackling a war of talents issues since a while. And normally those high-tech industries, young ladies are normally not so interested in, but starting early enough so we can get their interest, and when we have this quite well thought through a program and we are paying for this, there's nothing to lose. And then they get the appetite, they get started, and we even have two female apprentices in our program, which is really amazing.
Well, Kai, let me follow up on that, because I wanted to get to that. I mean, diversity is sort of a very, very important watchword in pretty much every industry these days, including in manufacturing. And because companies are recognizing that having that diverse workforce, it brings different experiences, it brings different viewpoints, you know, that can be really a key to success. So, you know, you mentioned women. I mean, can apprenticeships play a role in helping companies to attract and retain a diverse workforce? And Robbie, I'd interested, and Andreas, I'd be interested in you chiming in as well. But Kai, I mean, you mentioned women. Is that a focus that you guys have brought to this?
It is a focus, but I would say it's in general diversity. So we have a lot of families. I think Rob was somehow indicating this, who might not afford to pay for an education for their children. So with this apprenticeship program, we built up this new career path where even families can send their talents, their kids as talents, to our programs. And then you will discover, okay, there are many more talents outside which normally don't have those opportunities. So I wouldn't just focus on female talents, I would focus in general on talents. And so we are building up a workforce really in a very broad foundation. So,
Robbie, Andreas, any reaction to that or additional thoughts?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like Kai said, you know, I mean, we reached out to different groups like women in engineering or something like that. But to build really not only for women or only for men, you know, it's really the diversity. It's a very good key. And we have here in Ohio right now too, we have 2 females in the program, and they do really well in technical programs. You know, it's also really a good success there too.
Yeah. And
yeah, just really like.
Oh, go ahead, Robbie.
Sorry, I was just going to add that, you know, out of our 19 apprentices, I have 1 female, and it has been a focus. You know, it's an uphill battle. You know, trying to get females interested in this career. But the one I do have she is fantastic. She won our Apprentice of the Year award last year, and she actually was recommended by one of those teachers that I mentioned work with us in the summer. So hopefully, as our program continues to mature, that we'll be able to attract more females.
Yeah, and again, this is all about the companies. Because again, they're the ones that are really hiring these people and paying them. So if a company wanted to work with, you know, recently released convicts, if they wanted to work with veterans and so forth, they could target those people in themselves. And again, making sure that they're getting trained and skilled as appropriate. So we had actually a question about whether there were programs like this for youth that have been involved in the justice system, and Kai, and specifically in South Florida. Kai, I'm going to send that to you separately so you can maybe follow up on that. I'm looking at my notes, and I realize we probably should have started this. I mean, you know, while apprenticeship programs are going to change from location to location, maybe somebody can just quickly describe what an American apprenticeship program would look like. What's the typical timeline? Some of our audience may not be familiar with what this actually looks like. So Andreas, you want to try that?
I mean, like you said, it is really regional, you know, from state to state. The rules are really different. But what I personally look, and that is how we implemented it, as a 2-year program to give an associate degree to the students, you know, while we tie our program into a college system. Yeah, but there's, I know in South Carolina, and Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a lot of programs out there too, but are much shorter and still called apprenticeship program. You know, what abuse a little bit the name of the programs too, what are really true apprenticeship programs. Yeah, and you see that in a lot of different states. Also personally, I think it needs to be at least 2 years, you know, to have a college degree in it, have national or even international credentials. Like in our program, we have the DIHK certification, we have NIMS credentials, you know, to give something also to the students. Yeah, we know it is mainly for the companies to build their workforce, but we need to give something to the student to start a career in the future. If the company really lays the students off, what do they have in their hand? We have to look for that too. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. So the Consul General's mentioned specifically also the retention issues, and you know, I can tell you probably one of the biggest issues I hear from our members here in Cincinnati, the EACC manufacturers, is you know, you can hire people, you can train people, but you know, retaining them is a huge challenge, and especially, you know, when you've spent, you know, thousands of dollars, tens of thousands of dollars, you know, training an employee, and then just to have them walk across the street. So, Robbie, what's been your experience? Do apprenticeship programs, can they help companies with retaining employees? And then Kai, I think you wanted to react to that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, in my opinion, you know, training and the opportunity for growth is one of the keys to retaining your employees. And as mentioned earlier, you know, it's a 3-year program here at ZF, so we have a lot invested, time and money, into our apprentices, but they also have a lot invested in us as a company. They've spent 3 years of their life with us. So lucky to say, of those we've graduated and gone on to full-time jobs with our company, we have 100% retention rate at the moment. So hopefully we will continue.
That's right. Kai, you wanted to react?
So we do have a kind of formal retention mechanism. So we invest in one apprentices during this 2-year program, a little bit more than $20,000 US. But we are also asking for a commitment to stay with our company for another 2 years after graduation. So if they decide to leave earlier, then they would pay back the investment prorated. On the other side, we build up a kind of loyalty. So we invest in the people, they're embedded, they're building a good network. So they're also getting a comprehensive view due to circulating to different departments. So normally, as the General Counsel said, they wouldn't leave as easily as they would leave without this investment. So we build up this relationship. Of course, no one stays within the company the entire life, but for a certain period, we can retain them due to these 2 reasons.
And Kai, you raise a good point. I mean, career counselors these days will say that, you know, for young people, they're probably going to have 5, 6, 7 different employers over a career. As you know, when I came out of school, you know, it was the same employer for most of your life. You know, Andreas, I mean, is that how does that fit into the thinking of the companies that you're working with?
Yeah, the same thing. I mean, the apprenticeship program is not the end of the career. This is the beginning of a career, you know, and that is really what companies have to understand, and the students on the other part too. Not only you get here free education to, let's say, an associate degree or something like that. You know, the next steps there, you stay with this company. You know, they have tuition reimbursement programs today for a bachelor, for a master degree, and so on. So you build your career really with this apprenticeship. You start and build it over the years with this companies.
That makes sense. Yeah. So we talked a little bit about the perception of careers in manufacturing as dirty and dark and so forth. I mean, there are other perceptions that go along with the term apprenticeship programs. And just to be clear, I mean, apprenticeship programs has nothing to do with unions. It has nothing to do with collective bargaining. I mean, it's a way for companies to get skilled labor. But I know some companies and some organizations are avoiding using the word apprenticeship because they believe that there's this connection that it relates to unions and so forth. But having said that, I mean, I'm just curious, Kai, you know, you're working with companies and current employees and so forth. How are apprentices themselves being accepted on the shop floors? What's the perception among current workers when companies launch these programs? And I'd ask the other ones to also think about how to comment on that, but I'll start with you, Kai.
I mean, talking to managers and mentors of the apprentices, but also co-workers, they almost don't see a difference. So our apprentices are very grateful to got this opportunity, to got this funding. So you see a high level of engagement and dedication to the training, which helps the overall culture as well. So they appreciate it, they are dedicated to what they are doing, and they are a quick learner too. So at the end, it's encouraging a sustainable and engaging company culture. It's a big advantage as well.
Yeah. Andreas, I've been to some of the graduation ceremonies where you've had your apprentices coming out of events, and they brought their bosses along and so forth. How do you see it?
Yeah, I mean the same. When you look, we call it now a dual education program, really. You know, it have nothing to do with unions. You know, it is really very important to have both parts today, the classroom and the lab. We have here Kai and Robert. These are manufacturer of high technology products. You know, they need the workforce what has the knowledge to work with a hand. And we see this more and more with our short-term programs we do through the country. You know, that is what everybody wants. They want this dual education. They want the classroom and they want the lab. And that is really important.
Yeah. Robbie, what are you seeing? I mean, at ZF in particular, I mean, you know, when you get those apprentices on the shop floor, you know, do the old hands, are they nodding their heads or are they shaking their heads?
Well, most of them, the attitude they take is, I wished I had this opportunity when I was their age, you know, and, but, you know, as a general rule, they're very well accepted. You know, like for instance, our mechatronics students will go through the maintenance program, and for the most part, you know, they're welcomed, and the guys are eager to work with them and teach them what they know. So, you know, like I said, they've been well accepted, and you know, it's easy to move them right into the culture here at the plant. So there's not much of a learning curve there. They do very well assimilating themselves.
Just a personal story. I remember visiting an aerospace manufacturer here in Cincinnati that had a young woman, maybe 19, 20 years old, who came in and was working one of the multi-axis milling machines. And, you know, the manager said, you know, the best part is, you know, she walks right up to the panel and just starts punching it because, you know, it's a computer and she's been working on computers all her life. And I wish I had like 12 of her because she's just so good and picked it right up. So, and again, I think it can inject a lot of energy and innovation into a shop floor. So,
when you're, let's say, pointing out, is there kind of competition between normal workforce and apprentices? I would rather say it's the opposite, because we give an opportunity to experts we have in-house, while assigning them as kind of training buddies to the apprentices. For example, our apprentices are doing a PLC course this semester. So now we're looking for someone internally who has this knowledge. And now we hook both parties up. So now we really recognize those experts we have in-house, and they also appreciate to teach the apprentices. And yeah.
Well, Kai, your timing on that is perfect. We actually just had a question came in. Isn't there also a sense of pride among the older workers to share their knowledge with the next generation on the shop floor? And I'm sure that's true. I'm sure that's true. Look, and I want to, the EACC is an apolitical organization. We try to keep our nose out of any kind of politics or government issues. But of course, I mean, when we talk about these kind of programs, we have to talk about government support because, again, these are frequently state-supported educational institutions and so forth. And as Andreas has pointed out, Ohio, North Carolina, Florida all have extensive programs to support this kind of job training. So without turning this into a political discussion, maybe I'll just ask each of you to describe what steps the state and local governments in your region are taking to encourage these kinds of efforts. And maybe even just, if you want to risk it, one thing that you think your local government might be doing better. Robbie, you want to start with that?
Sure. Yeah, we're very fortunate in the state of South Carolina to have a lot of support. We have an excellent technical college system, and that technical college system was one of the main reasons that ZF chose South Carolina for this facility. Apprenticeship is very important to ZF, and the commitment was made to build a satellite campus close to our facility. The main campus was, 35 miles away or something like that. So there was a great commitment from the state. The technical system is willing to work with manufacturers. They understand the importance of training the workforce of tomorrow and job creation. There's also an arm of the technical college system, Apprenticeship Carolina, who helps you every step of the way when you're building and designing your apprenticeship program. We would not be successful the way we are today without their help. They also help with the funding that is available. So there's lots of funding, different sources to help offset the cost of our education, and actually some training credits and things that the state offers as well. So lots of support, very fortunate.
Kai, over to you.
So the Florida government, especially the governor, is aware about those needs we have. He joined our signing ceremony 1 year ago. So there's a clear attention on this topic. There's already a huge investment into the colleges itself, so that the college could buy equipment for the lab. But we are still missing funding. So the overall cost, paying the training, the trainers and the curriculum fees and test equipment is still with the companies. When I'm talking about these 22,000 per apprentice over the 2 years, it's still a burden on the company side. So we would more appreciate to have more support from the Florida state to the companies also. I mean, we don't want to get rid of all the costs. We're still convinced that this is the right investment to do. But if we can leverage those costs and balance those costs, we even get more companies interested in. And we have, as I said, more than 20 companies in the pipeline who are interested in those apprentices.
Andreas, what about Ohio? And of course, you also have a little bit of perspective on Kentucky too.
Yeah, Kentucky and California too now. I mean, there's a lot of going on here in Ohio with Tech Credit Ohio. All the courses are paid now here in Ohio for our apprenticeship program. Ohio just received $9.4 million to expand apprenticeship opportunities. Yeah, we just received a grant from the German government actually of $700,000 to expand our program to California. So there's a lot going on. But like Kai said too, the missing part is really to support strongly existing programs and in equipment. Yeah, there's a lot of tuition or creating curriculum and all this, but technology programs need equipment. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and to train on the right equipment, on future equipment. And that is really what is missing the most. You can find a lot of grants and a lot of help from state to state, you know, but on equipment, we are running really short on money all the time.
Just a reminder to our audience, if you have any questions or comments for our panelists, this would be the time to put them in. Let me come back to the question on the funding piece, because I guess one of the challenges for a local government or a state government is, well, who actually am I supporting with this? Is it supporting the educational institutions, which again, you know, already get money from the state, or is this seen as, well, I'm training somebody to go work at ZF? You know, so is this kind of a corporate welfare function? I mean, is there a way that you know, we can square that circle? Should the funding just go to the educational institutions, or do the employers need to get tax credits or you know, direct funding for some of this stuff? Tuition subsidies, your thoughts?
So we are trying to be quite neutral. What I mean with this, we have installed a financial body. So Space Tech is the company who's providing the technical credentials, but also the financial body. So if we have some cost securing, so invoices go to those financial body, and then Space Tech is invoicing the companies. We did this on purpose, that each company is somehow equal, an equal partner, and no one is really deciding who is investing or get reimbursed for what. This is important. We also have a board who's approving those invoices, and it's cost plus setup. So no company will gain any additional money out of it. It's just to balance the cost which occur from the educational partners, and how to invoice the company accordingly. So if we could find a way to offset some of the costs that the company is not bearing everything, for example, with tax credit, this would be ideal. So it should be a mixture. So companies have to invest, it's important because it's their commitment too. But if it's all the companies, we won't get enough companies involved.
Yeah. Well, I think, Kai, you know, the consortium that you've developed there, you know, bringing companies together to recognize that this is a shared problem, that, you know, and that they have to work on some of these issues together is really important. Here in the Cincinnati region, we have the Advanced Manufacturing Industry Partnership that does exactly the same thing, not specific to apprenticeships in general, but you know, really, again, bringing companies together to identify kind of shared solutions, and recognizing that it's a challenge that they all face. Andreas, you wanted to mention that, or?
Yeah, I mean, this is a true fact here too with our program. We have now 16 different companies here in Ohio on the program. So you see, when there's money coming to this program, it benefits the whole region. It's not only one company, you know, it's all 16 get something out of it. You know,
right?
And that is why a program like we have a partnership program with companies, same in Florida. Well, you know, it's very important. Everybody benefits from that. You can be a part of it, and you benefit from it.
Right. Kai, we've got a couple questions from people about apprenticeship program. Now, you're located on the Space Coast, right? Up in the sort of central, east central Florida, right?
Yeah.
Do you know of any similar programs to what you're trying to do in South Florida? A couple of people have asked about that.
Are you
going to start a program in South Florida, Kai? Because I've got some people who'd be interested, I think, to help you.
So I mean, we talked a lot about all these advantages and setting up this program, which gives those apprentices kind of worldwide recognized certificates. So not just US, even worldwide, which makes this more exchangeable for any other company. So that's a kind of global certification, and employers know what they are buying at the end with those skilled workforce. We were in touch already with Miami-Dade College. They were interested in before, And I know there's a lot of potential in South Florida. So I think the interest is there. There are a lot of good skills and engagement of students, but just need to make it happen.
Yeah. Mr. Consul General, you wanted to react to that, or did you have some additional thoughts?
Definitely. Well, so far I was under the impression that the lack of a manufacturing base really in South Florida was a little bit of an impediment to installing this down here as well. But I'm very glad to hear that you've already sort of tried to initiate some contacts, and I would be more than willing to promote these contacts. I am also in contact with Miami-Dade College, and as far as I understand, there is also a technology cooperation in the pipeline between Tesla and the Miami-Dade College, which could be very interesting. In particular, the point of view that Tesla is going to have a big investment in Germany very soon.
No.
This is what the EACC does. We make connections so that people can make a difference. So thank you for that.
So I'll definitely try to follow that up with Kai.
Yeah. And for the question askers as well, you can follow up with Christina, and she'll be happy to connect you with any of our speakers. I wanted to touch one other issue on the funding. We won't have time to go into this in great detail, but I mean, I know in Florida and across the United States, there's a lot of questions about job transitions and people losing their jobs, and particularly in tourism. I mean, I don't know how many Disney laid off and so forth. Very briefly, can we talk about apprenticeships for career transitions? Does anybody have experience with that? Are we really focusing more on students? Andreas?
No, I mean, when you look the program over the years now, what we have on students, it's not only for really young graduates just out of high school. We had military veterans, we had people what worked already 10, 15 years in companies and got promoted into this program. Yeah, so it is for every age. Yeah, if you are willing to learn, that is the most important part. And your company is willing to invest in you, there is no age restrictions or anything else.
We've got a few minutes left. I mean, Andreas tells the story. I'm not going to let him tell the story here, but he tells the story of a student who studied engineering at his was it a bachelor's degree?
Yeah,
from Ohio State University, Ohio State University, let me be clear, the Ohio State University, and then decided he wanted to go through your apprenticeship program because all he did was learn from books.
Yeah, he had already, like I said, his bachelor degree, and then he stepped down and started our program to get an associate degree, while he had no hand-on experience at all as an engineer. And it's a pretty sad story on the other side, but we fixed it. We fixed it.
Well, yeah, we'll see how they do in football this year. So that's all that really matters, right?
Yeah.
Well, this has been fascinating, Mr. Consul John. I don't know if you wanted to offer any kind of follow-up remarks. We didn't have that in the script, but I don't know if you want to offer some final reactions or thoughts about, again, how this relates to the transatlantic relationship.
Yes, definitely. I think, well, first of all, congratulations again for this initiative. It's very, very timely. I think one of the lessons learned is that we need to increase networking on this issue. Well, you need, as was pointed out, sort of a minimum of several companies interested in this to get them started. But then you have to involve also the teachers, the schools, the parents, and of course the students. To make the idea understood of what this qualified dual system can give as a reward for everyone who's participating. And so this dual model definitely needs further reinforcing to get an understanding of what the benefits can be. And as I said, I'm more than willing to follow this up on the one hand in Tallahassee if necessary. But also, well, with the good sort of basis that we now have also in the Orlando and Central Florida region, and maybe even develop it further in the South. So thanks a lot for these inputs.
Excellent. Well, Christina, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Well, this concludes today's webinar entitled Building the 21st Century Workforce with Innovative Apprenticeships, which was co-organized by EACC Florida, Cincinnati, and the Carolinas. As Todd said earlier, EACC is a connector, and we just witnessed live project or German-style, Austrian-style, Swiss-style apprenticeships across Florida and maybe across other states. So many thanks to Andreas, Consul General of Germany in Florida, for gracing this program with your presence, and to our stellar speakers, Andreas, Kai, Robbie, and our moderator, Todd, for sharing their knowledge and experience. And many thanks to our audience and to their questions, which actually maybe triggered a new project, as I said earlier. The webinar concludes, you will receive a 2-question survey about this event. Please take just a few seconds to answer it and give us your feedback. And as I said, remember, EACC is a connector. EACC members who attend our webinars can connect with the other attendees, just like during live events. Just contact your local EACC chapter to find out how, and check our websites for upcoming webinars and events. So thank you very much, everyone, and farewell.